Our YouTube, this is going to be the video that I talked about the hours of service. I'm going to kind of go over it. Kind of had to take a little bit of time to prepare this. That's why I was intended on doing it a little bit more quickly, but there's no quick way to explain this. I've spoken previous videos about how like this, that, and you probably heard me talk about 34-hour reset here, or go take a break here, I'm on my 30 here, and you pretty much probably didn't have a clue what I was talking about. So I have something here, some things written down on paper here, and I'm kind of taking notes at the bottom. This line down here pretty much is my notes, and this is what I'm going to go over plus these notes. So we're going to start with duty statuses. All right, so it's 4 main duty statuses. At Prime we have an additional one. I'm going to talk about that one as well. This is a paper logbook here. If you can kind of see the entire one, that's an entire sheet right there. It's just 2 on one page. That's why you kind of see half of it is what I'm showing. All right. So you have 4 duty statuses here. You have off duty, sleeper berth, driving, on duty, not driving, and then we at Prime is not on this page, but in our Qualcomm we have an additional off duty drive line. All right. So off duty means you're out of your truck. All right. So technically right now what I'm doing sitting here, this is not considered off duty. All right, because I'm in the truck. You have to be physically out the truck to be off duty. Say like you're in a hotel, or you stand at the terminal in the bunk room or something like that, or you're in a truck stop getting food, all right, or somewhere, wherever you are, Walmart, that's off duty. Sleeper berth means you're physically in the bed in the truck, all right. You don't have to be asleep, but you have to be in that area, all right. Driving, physically driving down the road, all right. Obviously that's kind of self-explanatory. On duty, not driving, all right, this is a big one where people mess up. On duty, not driving is going to be things getting fuel, loading, unloading time. Let's say you get pulled into a scale. When you get out the truck, don't go off duty. Some people do that and they get a ticket right there for that one. So you need to stay on duty for stuff like that. Pre-trip, post-trip, obviously. Actually, I take that back, because at Prime we only do on-duty time for post-trip. Is what they have worked out with the DOT. We have an exemption from logging a pre-trip. So we have to do a pre-trip. It's required by DOT. However, you don't have to log any time for it. All right. So you can kind of go off duty when you get up to do your pre-trip, because you should be in sleeper berth, and you get up, go off duty, do your pre-trip. You don't have to log it. Just it'll be off duty time. It's not going to count against you. All right. And then do your obviously the rest of it. So if you're not getting off duty time before you start driving, you need to make sure you're doing that. That's a telltale sign. Hey, if you go from like, sleeper berth to driving, that's kind of weird, that you're going to wake up, say not go to the bathroom, not go brush your teeth, and just start driving. So keep that in mind. All right, and then the off-duty driving line that we have, that's in the Qualcomm, that's our 5th line, line 5. We use that. We get an hour per day. Let's say you drop a load off, and you have time between that load and the next load before you receive the assignment, and you want to drive from your receiver, say to Walmart that's 3 miles down the road, you do off-duty driving, all right? But the second you're under a load, you're not technically allowed to do off-duty driving. That's the law. If you're under a load. So like right now, I'm under this load, I should not be off-duty driving until I already get to the final destination. All right, if that makes sense. So those are our 5 duty statuses explained. This is gonna be a long video. I'm already at 3 minutes. All right, so with the 5 lines explained, we're going to go into our rules. All right, we have 4 main rules that we kind of follow. All right, and each one will supersede the other. And what I mean by that is, like this, you see this is 11, and here you have 14. If you use this up, you're done. You can't say, oh, there's 14 here, you're done. All right, or if you still have 11 hours, that's at 70. You have time here, but you don't have time here, you're done for the day. You can't keep going. All right, we're going to get a little bit more into detail about what I mean by that. All right, so each one of these rules tie into each other. I'm getting hot in here, man. I don't have my APU on. It was making the camera shake, so I turned it off. So we're going to start the 70-hour rule. All right, so in any 8-day cumulative period, a commercial motor vehicle driver, that's CMV, cannot drive in excess of 70 hours combined with on-duty time. All right, so that includes any time you take your time from that on-duty not driving line, add it to the drive-in time for the day, and that is minus 70 hours for an 8-day period. All right, so I'm going to explain a little bit more about this 8-day rule. So let's say today, today's the 27th, all right? So go back to the 20th of March. So that's 8 days. The DOT, when they want to see your logbook, that's all they're concerned about is the last 8 days, because that's where your 70 hours start, is 8 days ago. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So you start, if you work 10 hours on the 20th, 10 hours on the 21st, and you keep going, eventually, 7 days working 10 hours a day, you're going to be at that rule. In the 8th day, you're not going to have time to operate until the next midnight, until you get that 10 hours back. And that's kind of going into flipping hours down here. That's on my notes. I'm going to go over that in a little bit of detail later. All right, so that's your 70. Your 40, you see how complex this is? Your 14-hour rule is once you go, you can read this. I'm not going to read this verbatim. I'm just kind of explain it. Once you go into an on-duty or driving line for at least 5 minutes in the Qualcomm or on a logbook for at least, whatever the time is, you have 14 hours in which you could be on duty or driving. Once that 14 hours hit, you have to stop driving. You cannot be on duty, and you have to take a 10-hour break. All right, I'm going to explain what a 10-hour break is down below in a minute. So that's your 14. Your 11 hours of driving. All right, you cannot drive once you start driving for the day in excess of 11 hours before you must take a 10-hour break. All right, so you wake up at 7, you head out. If you stop at 10, that's fine. Your clock will stop. But that's going back up there. Let me go back to the 14 for a second. I'm sorry. Once this 14 started, I'll make sure, I don't know if I said it, the 14 will not stop. All right, now this 11 hours will stop until these catch up with each other. So let's say if you drove from 7 to like noon, all right, you got those hours off. That's like 5 hours. You take that off of your 11, you got 6 hours left. So you say if you set for an additional 5 hours, so that's 10 hours. All right, all that time is coming off your 14, and you only have 4 hours left on your 14. So whatever one is the lowest out of these two, so you got 2 hours left here, but you still have technically 5 hours, well 6 hours here that you can drive. You're only going to be able to drive this amount of time. All right, you can't just do that. That makes sense to where I'm going with that. Hopefully that made sense. I'm going to kind of put this on paper and show you some scenarios. I'm probably going to have to do a part 2 to this video. So in our last one here, the last rule is an 8-hour rest break. A commercial vehicle driver cannot drive in excess of 8 hours without taking a 30-minute break. So yes, you are allowed to drive 11 hours in your driving shift for the day, but after driving 8 hours, you have to take a 30-minute break. So what a lot of people will do, because obviously I don't think anyone's just going to drive 8 solid hours. It happens sometimes, but it's not a normal occurrence. So if you look at the hours, you have 11 hours, all right? If you take a 30-minute break after your first hour of driving, you're going to have to take another 30-minute break. So it's not advantageous. Most people won't take a 30-minute break until at least 3 hours. That way you won't have to take a second one. Now, if you take one at 2 hours, you're going to have to take another one. And you're going to kind of lose out on some of your drive time. It kind of cheats you out of some time, because that's almost a whole hour that you're sitting there. It comes off your 14 and it comes off your 11. Well, not your 11, it comes off your 14, but it can make the 11 less if your 14 is catching up with you. All right, that 14 will catch up with you if you're sitting at you started your clock for the day and you're sitting at a shipper. That clock's not going to stop. It's going to keep counting down. All right, so you have to take a 30-minute break. Most people would do it after 3 hours. So you have 11 hours in a day, 3 hours off of 11. You have 8 hours on the other side that you can drive. Me personally, I usually try and drive 5 to 6 hours before I take a 30-minute break. Specifically the flatbed, we have to stop by law every 3 hours or 150 miles, whatever comes first. For reefer drivers, refrigerated drivers, you usually don't have to do that if you have seals on your trailer, because you can't inspect it. So you technically don't have to stop for load securement checks, is what they're called. All right, so I have to log on duty at least 5 minutes every 3 hours, 150 miles, whatever comes first. So with that being said, I'll get a couple bathroom breaks, so I get to I usually go to about 5 or 6 hours in, take a 30-minute break. That way after my break, I get a little bit rested, kind of get the fatigue off, and I don't have to drive a whole lot of distance once I start back at it. All right, so that's that. I'm gonna go into You know, these are my notes that I had down here. So we talked about duty statuses. 10-hour break. So with a 10-hour break on your logbook, you have to get at least 8 hours in the sleeper berth. All right. So a lot of people log, you know, maybe because me personally, I'll usually have like 30 to 45 minutes off duty, you know, going to the truck stop, taking a shower, coming back out, and then I'll change over to sleeper berth, and I usually get like nine hours in the sleeper berth, you know, ish. And but you know, technically by law, you have to have no less than 8. You can have 9, you know, but you need to show some off-duty time, because obviously, you know, you stop, you need to go to the bathroom, you can take a shower. You know, if you just go straight from driving the sleeper berth, like I was saying before, it just seems like you're playing the logbook game and you're not actually logging what you're doing, because you're supposed to log as you're doing. All right. And with that being said, if you're doing a paper logbook, it has to be caught up to your last change of duty status. So if you went from on duty, and I'll show you that in a minute. Actually, I'm going to not explain that yet. All right, so that's 10 hours, and you have your 30-minute break. All right, your 30-minute break, you know, usually most people do it off duty. I'm pretty sure you can do it sleeper berth, 30-minute break. You know, you drive for like, you know, 5 hours, take a 30-minute break, and then you'll get your other 6 hours of drive. So as long as you have time on your 14 clock to allow you to get all that time back. All right, pre-trip and post-trip, what I was talking about before. I know this is kind of going fast, hopefully not. Pre-trip, you are allowed with Prime not to log this. You know, other companies may have that exemption, I'm not sure, but we only log a post-trip, which is, you know, you have your pre-trip inspection, but then you have pretty much the same inspection for the end of your trip. All right, so you have to do both by law, but you only have to log a post-trip. The only time anything when the pre-trip has to be logged is you have a deficiency. All right, so I have this written off to the side. Let's say you have a turn signal out. You know, the DOT understands, you know, like, let's say like right now, I'm at this Shell station. It's a truck, it is a truck stop. However, you know, they don't have a repair facility here. So they do understand stuff like that. All you have to do is, I'm gonna go to the paper logbook to kind of show you, you know, you have this deficiency thing down here. You're supposed to put what's the problem and what are you going to do to correct it, pretty much. All right, so they kind of give you leeway if you do have a problem. But let's say if you have a turn signal out, you go to the scale, you say, oh, I didn't know. You know, they're not going to take that as an acceptable answer. They will write you a ticket. However, if it's logged on your logbook, you are good. I'm pretty sure, let me double check before I say this macro. I'm pretty sure it's macro 45 for us at Prime. Other companies, their macros are a little different. Yes, so macro 45 is going to be your daily post-trip inspection. So you go in there and you put your deficiency. The only time you have to do a macro 45 if there's a problem. All right, if everything's good with your truck, you do your post-trip, you log your however long it took you on duty to do it, and then you carry on about your day. You don't have to log anything. All right, so flipping hours, that's a big one. All right, so for this one, I'm going to go to the Qualcomm to kind of show you what I mean by flipping hours. All right, because this is a better representation. Hours of service. Let me go to my 8-day. Well, let me go back to the status. All right, if you see here, it says hours to be gained 0, hours to be gained in 2 days. So this is midnight tonight. I'm not going to get any hours, and then in 2 days I'm not going to get any hours. That's because I had a reset in this cycle. If you see, on the 22nd I had a 34-hour reset. All right, if you go to my summary, you see I still kind of have some time on my 70 to drive, and this is pretty much what I have left today. All right, so but we're going to go to our 8-day. All right, so you see here, I'm going to go back up all the way to the back. This starts on the 20th of March. See, I drove 668 miles for a driving time of 10 hours and 35 minutes, and I was on duty for 11 hours and 28 minutes. All right, so you kind of see that. So what happens is it logs every single day just like this. To get back to, you know, to know what you're going to get back at midnight, you need to go all the way down to the bottom. But this is, you see, I got those 2 lines here that says 0. That's that 34-hour reset that I had. So I'm not going to start flipping hours until this last day right here, because this is the 20th. All right, and today's the 27th. So we need another couple days to start flipping hours. But that's pretty much it. So like in 2 days, what's going to happen is that 10 hours and 35 minutes, total time of 11 hours and 28 minutes is what I'm going to get back on my 70 hours. So it'll go up. All right, some people operate like this every single day, and the hours just constantly rotate. So, you know, when the 8th day falls off, whatever time was there that was on duty and driving, it goes back to your 70, if that makes sense. Hopefully it did. All right, we're gonna come back over here to our paper. So that's flipping hours. 34-hour reset. All right, what's a 34-hour reset? You probably hear people talk about it all the time. 34-hour reset is basically saying you're off duty for 34 hours. You know, you on home time, definitely you get a 34-hour reset. Usually you're at least at home for a couple of days. But the second you go off duty, that's when it starts counting. All right. You know, like today, I'm not going to get a 34-hour reset because I have to go on duty in the morning to unload and then deliver these other 2 stops. It's about like 1 or something here, 2:42 p.m. So I just got here maybe an hour ago. Won't be getting a 34-hour reset. Don't have enough time to do that. But what a 34-hour reset does is it clears your 70. It gives you a fresh 70-hour clock. That way you don't have to worry about the previous 8 days flipping hours until on that 8th day. You have all your clocks are replenished. You know, the main important one is the 70. You know, if you've been off that long, obviously you're going to have time on your 14, your 11, and your 8. You know, those are not really a problem. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. It's 16 minutes and 10 seconds just. We're going to go over probably about 17. This next set, I'm going to go over some examples of how to log on this paper logbook, which is going to be the same thing that your Qualcomm is going to manually do for you. Will automatically do, well, semi-automatically, because you have to do some input. But I'm going to go ahead and end this video, turn my AC on, cool myself and my dog off, and I'm going to record this other one while I'm uploading this video. Hopefully it uploads before I'm done. But like, subscribe, and share the video if you liked it. Stay tuned really quick for part 2. I'll be done just shortly. Don't know how quick these will upload though. Thanks, guys.